Twitch and Chris are back with another video. Today I'm going to discuss some certain things with you guys. But first, just to kind of go back over this, my last video about the 800 numbers. One of the things that you guys don't understand is that there are many people who receive phone calls all the time because of, they're trying to get to your bank account. They're trying to get to your, this happens with Social Security. This happens with all different types of things, claiming to be your bank and everything. And one of the things I just want to reiterate is that if anybody calls you about exchanging any kind of currency, whatever you do, do not give away your information. Hang up right away. And then unfortunately, if you guys look at the video, Dinar Guru was arrested and convicted. If you guys look at that video, you'll see that people did give away their currency. All right. Now, some of you, and I did myself a long time ago, where, you could get the Dinar RV alert, on your phone. And some of these websites that you had to pay access to, they have your information. They have your credit card information. There's one specific group that does, and it's one of the bigger groups. They have your information. And a lot of times these people sell your information. That's how, some companies make money, is by selling your private and personal information and what you bought and so forth, and your phone number and everything else. So if you receive a telephone call at the time when this takes place, just hang up, because they do have your information. I know I signed up for a text alert like back in 2012, I believe. So somebody out there has my information that I'm waiting for the RV. So when it happens, then, I'm sure some of you will be getting phone calls. You need to disregard those phone calls. Now, what I'm getting into today, it's a very touchy situation. And one of the things that I wanted to discuss is first that, I told you that a lot of people had to go down in the banking system. And a lot of politicians have to go down as well, because a lot of those politicians supported the current financial system the way that it is. And I showed you in this video the best news concerning the dinar and the global reset, which you guys don't understand. This is going to cause a trigger throughout the system, because there are many, many people involved. And not just that, there is a huge money trail all over the place, and all these trails have to be investigated, right? Regardless if they were involved in what took place with this guy that's pictured here, but they supported a system knowingly and destabilizing countries, destabilizing the markets, and doing everything they can to bring the current system down and put in a system that would have ultimately ended in your slavery. Now, I've talked about the dinar will be backed by gold, and I've showed you guys some of the articles, and I showed you that the central banks were buying tons of gold here in the last couple years. They were also buying tons of gold. If you look back, and hopefully I'll be able to get to it, but there were many countries back in 2011 and 12 and 13 and 14 that were buying tons of gold too as well. And one of the questions was Iraq preparing to revalue the currency back in 2014? Well, if they would have did that, the corrupt bankers and the corrupt politicians all would have benefited from it, and they still would have turned around and crashed the system anyway. But what I wanted to show you is that at one point in time, there was a country that was trying to change the system. Now, before I get into it, I thank you guys for supporting me on Patreon. We have 41. We have different levels, and I haven't decided exactly what levels that are going to be. Now, of course, I will be posting a lot more as far as for those who are on the Patreon, to give you guys a more in-depth insight on the global system. But one of the things that you guys know, I am doing a project. You guys could go, and I've also did a video on my YouTube asking for you guys support for that. When you guys support the Patreon, you guys do support the project. So it's twofold. It's not just about making videos. And these different tiers are going to include different things. So my support links will be in the description. You can also support with one-time donations to PayPal. And in this over here, I posted something in which I'm getting ready to go after or talk about here. All right, and then also too, you can read that there. So getting into what I'm discussing, if they would have RV'd, they would have crashed the system because the system was not prepared for the corruption. And there's a lot of corruption. And one of the things that you have to understand that if the CBI was planning a gold-backed currency, right? If they were, what happened and what took place? Well, let's go and check out to see what happened when another country did that. All right. H's emails revealed true motive for Lib's intervention. All right. So you can see here, newly disclosed emails show that Lib's plan to create a gold-backed currency to compete with the euro and dollar was a motive for NATO's intervention. All right. So I'm not going to get into it or read it. Everything that's in here, you guys can do your own research and you can really look it up. Right. I'm just going to show you another article. Okay. Why he had to go, African gold, oil, and the challenge to monetary imperialism. Okay, we already know what this guy was trying to do. All right, he was trying to create a gold-backed currency. And we all know what happened here. The country was put into turmoil, chaos, and a lot of things happened to this country. Many people perished. All right, and when you guys do the research, you just have to do the keyword searches. You're going to find it all here, right? So you guys can go and read it. I don't want to read the article due to certain restrictions that may come about just for me repeating this article. All right, so we know that there was a lot of things that happened. They had tons of gold. And they were planning, and this was pretty big. This was pretty big because it was the beginning of the start to put Africa into a position, the whole continent of Africa, into a position they were to be a strong economic force. And it was quashed, and you'll find out who exactly was the main person behind that. And what you guys have to understand is that there are many people. It's just not one president of a country. It's not just certain politicians of a country. It's politicians in different countries all over the world. Central banking systems, central banks. You're looking at the heads of private banks. It goes really deep. And just to kind of show you guys what happened to Lib's gold reserve. Now, you can see here they had all those tons of gold, right? And if you read what happens, if you read the articles, they discussed where their gold was at. And if you look back and you look at the data, here you see this is where they had planning their gold, right? And now look at the big drop. Huge drop. They lost a lot of gold. They had bought enough gold to support a gold-backed currency, and a lot of it now is gone. As I go into, did Iraq try to do the same thing? Were they going to do the same thing? And was it prematurely to as well? Was it in the overall plan, and they were going to try to? Because I don't think the world system was actually ready in 2014. But when those who are in positions of corruption saw that they were trying to do something, I'll just go ahead and show you. Now, I've showed you articles in the past about the Iraq Central Bank said on Friday its gold reserve had reached 90 tons after buying 60 tons over the past 2 months to support the value of the Iraq dinar. Right? So I've discussed this in the previous videos. This article was April 6, 2014. This article was March 25th. Iraq Central Bank bought 36 tons of gold in March, and it was to help stabilize the rate of the Iraq dinar against other currencies. Well, we know that didn't happen, right? I mean, really, it actually went down. So like I said, pay attention to the date. Now, we see here, during the time of what Lib was trying to do, the Iraq gold reserves were down, right? Then we see a rise. through 2014, right? I just showed you the articles about that. And if they were planning a gold-backed currency, not just stabilize it, but to actually give a high rate, well, let's see what happened. Iraq dinar. I know, guys. I keep going back to this article, but this article is very important. Iraq dinar revaluation postponed by central bank for 5 years, right? And that's October 29th of 2014. Well, guess what happened between the time that I just showed you the articles of April and March of 2014, and what happened at the time of what happened in between the time of this article, right? You see these words right here that I'm circling right here, right? That right there stopped Iraq from doing anything. So they couldn't just go in and do what they were doing to the libs, right? Because Iraq was, they suffered this war. We were partners, supposed partners in Iraq. And I know what Abadi has said about the Big O during that time period. He said he received no support, and also too about who was behind this group right here, right? And those behind it. So did they try to? They did the same thing, but they had to go about it a different way. There was already corruption going on, and I've discussed that in past videos. I've showed you guys Maliki and all these other people that were just stealing and stealing and stealing and stealing. And how he sent no forces to stop them at all whatsoever when the first invasion of this group right here took place. So as I just sit back and thinking, I was just like, did they really try to do this in 2014? Were they really going to do this? And was it premature? Because we know, as if you've been following the videos, you've been following Currency 365 and a few others, it would have been premature to do that. Because the world system at that time, at least that I know of, was so corrupt, you would have lost all of your money anyway. But see, now, all these corrupt individuals that are weaved into the spider web have to be taken out one by one. And you're just not going to see just people change positions or resign. You're going to see a lot of people arrested too as well. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if you go look at like Australia and all the resignations of different countries, heads of different countries or politicians in different countries, the ball is already rolling. Now, of course, I know there's some news concerning the IMF. That's a good thing. As far as the head of Christine Lagarde, that's good news. But it goes way deeper than that. So as we move forward in this, guys, you guys really need to look at a lot of these indicators. I showed you an article where the Feds were cutting their rates to support the price of gold to make it higher. So what's going to happen if you look at the current price of gold now? What I'm showing you here, the World Gold Council, Federal Reserve Central Bank rate cuts to drive gold investment, right? So what I wanted to show you, what would happen with the current prices gold around 1,400 or so? What would happen if that price of gold went up to 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000? Or even 10,000, as one of my subscribers suggested. Could you imagine the support of their currencies of the central banking system? So, and that could be very huge for any country with any currencies. As I just go back and I just think, did they really try to do this and they were stopped by the same people that were behind the libs intervention? When anybody took a stance to the monetary system, they fell. And I think that they may have been trying to. It's a theory, but I think they were stopped. And it had to do with, I told you, the group that, you guys already know who was responsible for basically taking over almost half of Iraq. And I think Kim Clement's prophecy is right. It hasn't been time, nothing, and suddenly. And all these pieces have to be put in place. And there's just not one individual that's standing in the way. It's multiple individuals, multiple countries, multiple governments, and multiple heads of banks and central banks. The weave of corruption runs deep. And part of it, like I said in this video here, is going to strike a big blow to that system. And then you have the money trail that's going to get the rest of them that are in those positions. Those are my theories, my opinions, but I just wanted to share that with you because it was interesting that I thought that maybe, when I came across the Lib article, and I knew about it before, but I didn't really connect it until I started thinking about the videos that I had made on YouTube dealing with the gold. And they stopped Libs from challenging the system and making that whole region an economic power. And I believe now that Iraq was trying to do the same thing and they were stopped. But it wasn't time. It was premature. Anyways, guys, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget about the Patreon and throw your support towards Twisted Christian and the project. So, guys, tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. I appreciate all the comments. And another thing is, too, if there's very, very negative comments, and I'm going to delete them. And I'm not talking about giving your opinion. I'm talking about slanderous things. I will not only delete the comment, but I will block you from ever making a comment on there, because this is not what it's about. It's about putting all the pieces together and figuring this whole thing out and figuring out when all this is going to take place. I'm ready. I have what I need as far as what I need to do in my life. I don't need to get any more. I would like to have more, but I don't need any more. And I think that's a lot of times where greed comes in, because some of you, I've seen comments like in the chat rooms about, every time the gurus pump up the RV, you guys go out and buy it, think it's going to hit, and then you can't pay your rent or you can't pay your power bill. And way back in the day, before I realized, man, I don't know what's going on with these guys, but something is just not right. Because that happened to me one time. And I had to suffer for like months just to get back on track. And that happened back like in 2012, 13. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Leave a comment, leave a like.